So they announced as part of the reveals for Age of Overlord a new sort of counterpart to IP Masquerena. This card is called SP Little Knight. We'll have to see how it ends up getting localized and translated when the set actually starts to come out. But for now, that's what we're going to call it. It is a Link 2 Dark Warrior with arrows that point left and right. And it seems pretty good. I will say that it's not as good as IP, but it's actually an interesting target for IP. As the first effect says, if it's Link summoned using a fusion, synchro, exes, or Link as material, you can target a card on the field or in the grave and banish it, but your monsters can't attack directly this turn. And if you do that on your opponent's turn, who cares? You don't have the ability to attack during the battle phase that turn, so downside doesn't even matter. And the second effect, as a quick effect, says you can target 2 face-up monsters on the field, including one you control, and banish them until the end phase. That's pretty neat. I would say that it basically offers 2 forms of interaction in a single card, as you can summon it off of IP. You can banish a card either on the field or in the grave, meaning it has, it's modular. It can be used different ways to interact with different types of decks. And then while it's on the field, you then have the ability to basically Farfa, or I guess Farfa, or you know Side Frame Lord Omega, although it's not from hand, it's from field. But you get to banish 2 cards, including a card you control, until the end phase. Meaning, if your opponent summons something that's important that they need to have access to, like, if you're playing against Plant, you can banish their Loci. If you're playing against Hero, you can banish something like a Vion. If you're playing against Mathmech, you can banish something like a Circular. There's different targets where a singular monster being banished for the turn is like a big problem, right? Because then they can't use it for material for other things. So that's really cool. I think that's great. The fact that it's 2 forms of interaction in a single card, using in conjunction with something like IP, right? That means that this card is probably going to see a pretty heavy play. I would say any deck that can go into it is going to have a good time. And it seems like a really strong option, specifically for Sprite, as it's a 2, meaning that even if you activate something like a starter on your opponent's turn, you can still go into this off of IP. That's a pretty cool form of interaction. Is it better than going into like a Avermax or a Unicorn? I guess that's matchup dependent, right? Unicorn is strong because it removes the card from the field and puts it in the deck, which is one of the better places you can put a card. And Avermax is good because some decks just can't out it. But this card's good because it's 2 pieces of interaction on a single card. So it functionally goes, 2 for 1 in terms of interrupting your opponent. Is that enough? In some cases, yeah. In some cases, the singular point of interaction of banishing a card from field or grave could be enough to end your opponent's turn. So that second effect to be able to interrupt probably may not even come up in some cases. But if you're playing against a better deck that can sort of play through interaction, being able to have an IP not only be interaction, but be 2 points of interaction over the course of a single turn, that's really strong and not something that you can sort of ignore. So I'm excited to see how people play this. Let me know in the comments what you think, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Do not forget to subscribe.